friends. So I want to talk a little bit about how easy it is to be deceived, because the last little while I have wanted to yell at people for being deceived, and I get really frustrated at the deceivers. I get frustrated at the people who believe the deceivers, because they won't do their own research. And I mean, what is the first thing that we say after Flat Earth is do your own research? And yet so many people want everybody else to do the research for them. And I understand not everybody has the time to do the research, but if it's important to you, you'll do it. And then the people will say, well, why does it matter? I think it matters when the people who are in control have been lying to you about where you live, and it's not just a matter of making a mistake. Oops, my bad. We're not on a spinning ball. We believed Copernicus. Sorry, we were duped. No, they did it on purpose. They purposely deceived us. So, if that doesn't matter to you, okay, move on. Nothing to see here. But I think it should matter to you to know where you live, why you're here, what you're doing, what you should be doing, and why they would lie. That's another question that they ask is, well, why would they lie? Well, how about looking into it first before you ask why would they lie? And then how about you try to figure out why they would lie? Instead of asking other people why would they lie, ask yourself, what do they stand to gain by lying? Control, money, enslavement, power. They can manipulate you into doing anything if you swallow a lie this big. If they have you busy doing things and distracted, then they can do anything with you. If you are so busy paying bills, they can manipulate you into doing anything, because you don't have time to stop and look at the shape of the earth. You don't have time to stop and look at why they would lie. So they've done a good job. They've done a good job at keeping you busy, keeping you distracted, and brainwashing you into believing that there is no point in even looking, because first of all, you don't have the time. Second, you just don't understand why they would lie. So, okay. So yes, I understand that a lot of people are very busy paying their bills, so they don't have time to look into anything. But they ask all of the programmed questions like, why would they lie? Why does it matter? And I really don't know where. I know where these questions come from because they're programmed into them. And some people don't have that programming. They don't ask those questions, or if they do, it's more out of curiosity rather than deflection and a dismissal of responsibility or inquiry. So, okay, now it bothers me. It was bothering me for quite some time that people were getting deceived, and like wanting to make a video to call out all the liars and call out all of the shills, and then I was like, no, if you want to be deceived, then you will be deceived, and this is the information you will get. You will attract what you are and where you are in your level of search. And so if you have asked for the truth, regardless of what it looks like, regardless of what it does, or how it shakes up your world, and you just want the truth, it will come to you. And It will shatter all of your beliefs. It will shatter all of your paradigms. It'll shatter your foundations. Everything will be taken out from under your feet, and you'll have to put everything back together again from scratch. But if you've asked for it, then you must be ready for it, and so you can handle it. Then there are people who they want to believe what they want to believe. So they hold on to certain things that are precious to them. And if they're not willing to let go of those precious things, then they're only going to see things that through that filter. So certain filters like Mandela effect, Christianity, religion, why would they lie? If you are attached to space or attached to government or attached to politics or money, if you're attached to money, you will not want to let it go, and you will not want to see that the beast system is a slave system. You won't want to see it, because you're gonna be shattered and your whole worldview is gonna be gone, and you're gonna have to figure out how to live now that you know this information. And so your programming will not allow you to see what you're not ready to see. It might show it to you, but then you'll dismiss it. Because the people who aren't ready for the information aren't going to be able to process it, aren't going to be able to accept it. Their programming, and I'm talking about their belief system, their infrastructure, internal infrastructure of who they are, why they're here, what their purpose is here, and what their desires and thinking and upbringing and indoctrination, and all of these things, all of these factors play a role in what they're able to see. And unless they ask for truth, unless they're prepared to let go of the existing paradigm, unless they're prepared to see things as they really are, and there's so many levels to it, they're going to get caught in one of the deceptions. And so I came to the realization, no, I'm just going to let them be deceived, because that's where they have to be. That's where they want to be. They don't want to see other things. They don't want to see anything else. And so then there are the people who do see, they did ask for the truth. They're ready for everything to come crashing down. They're ready to accept things as they really are. And those are the people that I want to talk to, because it ain't pretty, and there's a lot of deceptions out there, like I said, like Mandela effect, like religion, that are really taboo, and you mention those things in the truther community and you're a dissenter. You're creating division. You're going against the flow. And these are all programming concepts that the controlled opposition has planted in the community to prevent us from calling out the controlled opposition, the shills, the people who are spreading lies and disinfo. Because if you say so-and-so is spreading lies by talking about certain aspects of mud flood or whatever, and you get attacked, because that is the programming that this community has been infiltrated with. The whole truth thing is basically them getting out ahead of the game. They knew this was coming because of the Age of Aquarius, because of revelation that comes out from the Age of Aquarius, because we're entering a new age. The astrology dominates, and this is what was going to come anyway. So they knew this was going to come. So they got out ahead of it, and they controlled the release of the information with, their hired hands. And a lot of those people, they think they're doing good things. They don't know. They're just doing a job. They don't have a clue about what's going on. They don't even know the truth. They're just hired by, YouTube or Google or whatever, and they just do what they're told and get paid. But they're just brainwashed people who are feeding the system and don't know it. And they'll never see the truth because of the nature of what they are, who they are, and their role here. So, but they serve a purpose. All these people serve a purpose. Even the worst of the worst, the people like the flat earth gatekeepers, and you know who they all are, the Potato Factory, the ones who were all after fame in Hollywood and wanted to take it to, film festivals and make movies out of flat earth, and they just end up making it look ridiculous, which was the whole point in the first place because they're all controlled opposition. But they serve a purpose here. Their purpose is to keep the people who aren't ready for this information at bay. And yeah, we're mad when we come to the truth. We're mad that there are liars. We're mad that there are shills. We're mad that there are people who are preventing us from having this information, from having the truth. And it is awful. But there's a reason. Because the people who are falling for the deception want to be deceived. A lot of people are going to be mad at that statement because, I can say from the beginning of, before I found out the truth, I didn't like it here. I didn't like what was going on. I didn't want to be deceived. And yet, we were born into the deception. But if you were born into the deception and you know something is wrong, you're probably always searching for truth. Whereas other people who don't see it, who don't look for it, they are not searching for truth. They are content with the way things are. And so their dominant vibration or their dominant statement is that they expect to be told what to do. They expect authority to take control. They expect to just do as they're told. They expect X, Y, Z. So it's that expectation of how things ought to be, or believing that this is how things are and they can't change, or it's out of their control. These are the kind of dominant statements that they have in their mind, in their thoughts, and so that's the kind of experience that they get. And until they change that thought, until they realize that something's wrong and they don't like it and they're not happy with what is, they're going to continue to get the same thing. And so there are people, aside from that, there are people who choose to be deceived. Like I said before, there's certain things that are precious to them that they won't let go of, or they want something. They get something out of it. They get a benefit from it, from being deceived. So they justify to themselves by saying, well, people are rotten to the core. And everywhere they go, they attract people who are rotten to them. And it validates their belief. And it just further perpetuates this belief because that's the experience they have. But if they change their belief into, well, they say they come across one nice person and they say, wow, that person was really nice. So then they start to change their belief to, there are some nice people here. And then they see more and more nice people and helpful people and considerate people, and they say, wow, there's quite a few really nice, considerate people here. So then they change their belief to, everybody's nice and considerate. Well, not everybody, but that's their belief. It doesn't really matter because in their reality, their experience of reality, I'm not talking about parallel universes here because that's bullshit. But in their experience of reality, then they will start to attract people who are kind and helpful and considerate. And so they've gone from this extreme to this extreme just by changing their perception. And this is what they've manipulated. They've manipulated our perception. They haven't manipulated the reality as such. It's our perception of reality, and they got us to change the reality through our actions and behaviors and beliefs. And this is why, so if, for example, if somebody wants to believe that let's say well, I basically covered it all, but like they're just going to come across, okay, if you don't want to believe, if you don't want to let go of space, and somebody tells you about flat earth, and you'll say, oh, well, maybe it's flat, but what about space? Like, I can't let go of space, so what, are we floating in space? And then they'll have evidence presented to them to the contrary, that there is no space, and they'll be like, no, I can't believe that, I can't buy it, like there's other planets out there and blah blah blah. So they can see that it's flat and motionless, but they can't buy the no space thing. And so they would rather go back to the globe to hold on to space rather than investigate and find out what space really is, or if it does exist, or whatever, or what the case may be. So that's why they can't get past a certain point. And so they want to be deceived. They want to hold on to their fantasies. They want to hold on to this idea, and it gives them some sort of satisfaction or benefit, because if it didn't, they wouldn't hold on to it. There's a benefit in them holding on to space because it reminds them of some childhood joy, or some relationship they had with their father when they watched the moon landings, or there's something to it, some sentimental attachment that they have to it that keeps them holding on to space. And maybe it's an ego attachment of saying, no, space is real, I know space is real, and they just can't get past the block. So anyway, this is why people get led down certain paths and why they get deceived. And there's more to it than this. This is a huge topic about why some people can't see it. And it's not just cognitive dissonance, because cognitive dissonance, like I just said about the whole space thing, you have this blockage and it won't let you see beyond a certain point. Cognitive dissonance is trying to hold two opposing thoughts at the same time and marry them together, but they don't go together, and so you don't know which thought is true, and you're having a hard time letting go of the original thought and accepting the new information because you have an attachment to the first belief that you have. And so this is kind of like when you are in an abusive relationship and you're trying to understand why somebody who says that they love you suddenly hits you, and you're trying to reconcile why someone would do that because you love them and they say they love you, but love is not hitting, love is not physical violence. And so you either justify the hitting as an expression of love or excuse it away as they're just having a bad day, or you realize that they don't love you. So those are the options that you're faced, and either you find a way to reconcile the two and accept both at the same time, and so you turn hitting into a form of expression of love, or you have to accept that this person doesn't love you and you have to leave. And so this is just, cognitive dissonance is just a process that you go through. It's not a blockage of receiving information, but it can be a blockage. It can be a barrier to accepting new information, because some people will refuse to believe that the person doesn't love them, and we'll hold both simultaneously, or we'll say, well, it's just excuse it away and say, well, they're just having a bad day. But then when the hitting continues and the love comes less and less, then they turn the hitting into love, and then they want the hitting because that to them is now love. It is fucked up. But this is how the mind works in terms of trying to align what it can't reconcile, because the two don't go together. So similar with the space and the flat earth thing, you either accept that there is no space and you accept flat earth because of the way that it works. There can be no space, not the way that they told us there is, but also you say, well, there's flat earth and space, or you say, no, there's no flat earth, we're not on a flat plane, we're in space with a spinning ball, because I can't accept that there's no space. So you dismiss the other as well. So despite the evidence, so it's not just cognitive dissonance. There's a whole lot of programming that goes into it, of preconditioned ideas of how things are and how things should be, and expecting other people to show you all the information, not having the time, not having the understanding of the weight and significance of what this all means. Why should I bother looking into it? Some people just can't see it because they're not ready to see it. Their programming won't allow it. There's a lot of flies. And the dominant thing is that there's, if you haven't asked to see it, you won't see it. You're not ready to see it. You can't see what your programming won't allow you to see. So until you change your programming, you're not going to see the truth. And some people don't want to. Some people are so afraid, the fear of what the truth means, because some people know that once they see it, their whole paradigm is going to shatter, and they don't have time for that. They can't manage that. They don't have the inner stability, the emotional stability to handle it, and it's shattering. It splits you apart. Like, it's traumatizing. And so when you know that it's going to cause a lot of problems, some people just can't deal with it right now. So they have to put their head in the sand in order to just get on in life, because they got other things that they got to deal with. So there's that too. And the fear of, well, I don't want to look because I know it's going to be scary. I don't know what it is, but I'm scared to look because I know it's going to be scary. And it is scary. It's not pretty. But the fear of the unknown is worse than the known. It's worse than knowing what's really going on. And knowing that you've confronted the truth and you've looked at it, it empowers you, because now you know where you are. Now you're standing on solid ground. Now you have a foundation, a knowing. When you have knowing, nobody can push you over. Nobody can fool you anymore. Nobody can lead you by the nose and say, hey, this space project we got here, we're gonna send you into space and we're gonna go colonize Mars. Well, you already know that the space program is garbage, so you're just gonna laugh and walk away. You're not gonna buy it anymore. But this doesn't mean that you're immune to all the lies. It just means that you are working on your bullshit detector, and you need to work on your bullshit detector, because this place is run by liars, and they're going to trick you and fool you and mislead you and control you and con you, and it ain't pretty. It really isn't pretty. So anyway, so like a lot of people are very afraid. They're afraid to look at the truth, but the lie is worse. And if you're afraid to look at the truth, that just means that there's some truth in you that you're afraid to confront. because ultimately, once you find that everything's a lie, the only thing that you need to do to fix it is to change yourself. And if you're afraid to look within yourself, then you're not going to want to look at what's going on with other people or other things here either. Truth scares you. It's scary. Truth is scary. And, you know, I have to say, like, there are times where you look at yourself and you're like, okay, well, that's a quality that, you know, I don't particularly like, but you know what? I accept it. It's part of me. It's me. I accept it. And when you accept it and you don't apologize for it, and, you know, like, okay, maybe you're a bit of an asshole, or you're really mean to bugs, or, you know, whatever, or you just like fly off the handle, or you swear at people on the highway, and it's a really ugly quality, but overall you're a decent person, and overall you're good to people, and overall you're quite nice, but you just have this like thing that you occasionally flip out on the highway. And you're like, okay, you know, it's something I need to work on, but I have to accept it because that's what it is. There's stuff like that we look at ourselves and we're like, yeah, that's not so great, but overall I'm a good person. So this is the kind of thing that people are afraid of. There's really not anything to be afraid of in that sense. And I'm not saying that there's nothing in this world to be afraid of, because there are things in this world to be afraid of, but you got to conquer your fears. Otherwise, the biggest thing that's going to consume you is your fear. So I'll leave it there. Talk to you later. Bye.